Hello, hello. How
Hello,
are you?
hello. Doing good. How are you?
Good. It's great to meet you. Finally, I've heard lots of good things about you.
Well, that's a good thing.
I've been excited for this talk today. So we appreciate you hopping on.
Good. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm super excited to be a part of this.
How, yeah, how did you get started in this whole world?
Oh, wow. Long story short is I was up in New Jersey. I'm in
Okay.
North Carolina now, but I was up in New Jersey and I was looking for a job. And I saw an ad posted in the newspaper for a window cleaning job. And I'm like,
Okay.
how hard can that be?
Right?
I worked for the guy for about a year and had that entrepreneurial bug kind of in the back of my brain and said, I think I'll try to give this thing a go on my own. And that I was 19. So it was a game
Oh,
changing interview and job I had.
I love it. Well, that's amazing. Well, we're super excited to talk today. We have Clint. Are you here to be with us and learn from Jens?
How are you guys?
Hey there.
Hey,
Welcome,
Clint, how are you?
Man, I can't complain.
welcome. Love it. Okay, I'm gonna get it all set up so that we can stream it live. And so usually the format that we have is just I'll introduce you a little bit and kind of let you introduce yourself a little, and then we'll just dive in. You want to just share some of your knowledge and then interject any questions. Clint, feel free to interject questions as well. I'll be watching on Facebook for any comments on there, and we'll just have a good discussion.
And by the way, Michelle, Clint is one of my clients, and I did send that link out to my clients to try to get some more people on if they want to listen in and
Awesome.
maybe convert your way too. So
Yeah, we're excited you're here, Clint. Thanks for joining us. Okay, let get ready. 1 second here. I love talking systems and strategies. This is going to be a fun talk.
we're gonna have a good time.
Yes. Okay. 1 second here. Oh, got Keely here as well. All right, got some more popping in. Hi, Keely. Welcome. Keely's from Jill's office as well, so she's excited to join the conversation. And it looks like we have Christina, so that's wonderful. Keely, after I'm gonna post this live to our main page, but could you share it in our group as
Yes,
well? Okay, perfect.
yes. How do you pronounce your last name?
Dubois.
Dubois. That's what I thought. I just didn't want to butcher it.
I've heard all kinds of things, but
Gosh, I cannot believe it's already December 14th. This year whizzed by, and especially this month is whizzing by really fast.
I know. Oh, it's going by so fast.
we just can't keep up, can we? So
Yeah,
many things to do and not enough time. And next thing you know, it's another month.
that's right. All right. Okay, so we're about ready to go live, but I just we'll wait till 1, but we'll let a few other people pop in as well here on the Zoom. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to chat, put them in the chat thing, and Keely and I will watch that there, or if there's a good spot too, we can just kind of interject and maybe even have some Q&A at the end here. So 1 second. So what part of Jersey were you in,
I was in
Jim?
Tom's River, the Jersey Shore.
The Jersey Shore. Okay. I lived in I grew up there for a little bit. I lived there for about 5 years in the Morristown area, and we loved going to the shore.
Oh,
Um
oh yeah, it's such a great place, right? So you were there for 5 years?
when I was like in, gosh, it was like junior high age. But we're in Utah now and I miss those trees. I mean, it's just gorgeous out there. We had like a few miles of woods in our backyard, and me and my brothers would just go out exploring every day, building forts and all this fun stuff. And I love that we have the mountains now here in Utah, and I love those too, but I do miss those trees.
Part of Utah are you?
What was that?
Part of Utah are you?
We're northern Utah, so about 30 miles north of Salt Lake City.
Okay.
It's in the Ogden area. So it's fun to be in Utah in December. The rest of the winter I'm not a huge fan, but I do love the summers here. So
I love skiing. Alta is one of my favorite.
okay, so you are a fan of Utah in the winter. Yeah, I should be. I've only been skiing like 3 times in my life, you know.
Really? Oh man, we got
Yeah,
the
I
same
know
job.
it's a tragedy, but Alta is beautiful.
I've never been skiing.
Well,
Crazy.
you have your whole life ahead of you, right? All
That's
kinds of
right.
fun things to do. Oh, I love Utah, Salt Lake, Provo, Park City, that whole area there is
Okay,
beautiful.
you really know it then.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but I've been out there probably, I don't know, 6, 8 times.
Okay, well, most people only know Salt Lake, so the fact that you know some of those other cities, that's impressive. All right, we got another one entering in, and then it looks like it is one. So let me just finalize this going live, and we will jump into it. Keely, did you want to introduce today?
Sure, we have a full crew. I didn't realize there was so many other people.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun, and then we'll have the live people as well. So, okay,
Okay.
I am going to get it set up, and we'll go. All right.
All right, welcome to today's live. We're so excited. Today we are interviewing Jim Dubouis and his team. He is a CEO of Squeegee Pros and the founder of Window Washing Wealth Coaching Program. So really excited to have him today. He's going to go over some business strategies and systems that he uses in his business. And we're just really excited to learn from you guys today. So thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome. Thanks for having me on. I'm so excited.
We're excited to have you here, Jim. I know I was asking you a little bit before, but tell us just briefly how you got into this whole world and where your passion came for systems and processes.
Well, I'll give you the short story. So, for those that don't know, I was born in Indiana, so I'm originally really a farm boy. And once I turned 18, I figured I would go on out to the East Coast, and I ended up at the Jersey Shore there in New Jersey. And people sometimes ask me, how did you get into the window cleaning business? And it was really a complete stroke of fate. I was looking for a job, and I saw an ad in the paper for a window cleaner doing storefronts. And I'm like, well, how hard can that be? Washing windows, right? And so I showed up to the interview. I did have a suit and tie on, and I had the job in a minute. And I got the job, and I started washing windows, and I loved it. And I had that freedom and flexibility, kind of doing my own thing on the route that I was cleaning the stores for. But some of you probably know that entrepreneurial bug kind of starts to bite you a little bit. And this has been since I was probably 13, 14 years old. I would love to have my own business and love to do my own thing. And when I was washing windows, I had this epiphany. Well, maybe I could do this as my business, right? To venture into the entrepreneurial world. And I did. And it was a hard road, I have to say. But I was 19 years old. I started my little window cleaning business. I had route work. I had residential houses that we did. And it blossomed into something where we had me and my little team, right? We had like 600 stores. We were doing about 300 houses a year. And it was starting to kind of turn into something. And but if I fast forward the story, I did sell that business, got into a couple of other things, and I landed here where I'm at now, which is in North Carolina. And that landing took place back in 1996. And the story continues because I was again at a crossroads in my life. Well, what am I going to do now? Because I had basically just wiped my life clean and started fresh in a brand new place I had never been before here in North Carolina. And I needed a mattress. Simple as that, right? And I walked into a mattress store, and as I was walking in, I just couldn't help but notice how dirty the windows were. And I said to myself, you know what? I'm gonna pitch this guy on my little window cleaning spiel, right? And if he goes for it, which was probably like a 10% chance, right, of him saying yes. Well, if he says yes, I'll start another window cleaning business. And you know what? He said yes. And he doesn't know this, but because he's now out of business and years have gone by, but he has no idea what that conversation has turned into as far as the business that has developed today, 2 decades later, Squeegee Pros. So that's kind of the story, and I'm sticking with it.
I love it. I love that it was just, hey, I saw the windows dirty. I asked the guy, we're gonna run with it. I would like to believe, even if you said no, you'd still be where you are right now. But I love that he did say yes. So that's incredible. So Jim, we're talking today about, setting up systems in your business. And at Jill's office, we are all about systems because the whole reason we exist is just to help free the business owner, because we know how heavy it is to wear all the hats and being distracted all day long. And we like to at least take one piece off their plate by helping to handle their phones and taking care of their customers. But it's really the irony is that you start your business for freedom, right? Because you don't want to be controlled by a boss and by a set schedule and all that kind of thing, and to own your time. But then when you get into it, you start realizing that you are in some ways more trapped than ever, because you can't ever clock out. And so it really is being able to set up smart systems in your business and processes, and learning what to delegate, what to keep on your plate, and what to outsource, and what software is out there, and all the things that you can do to actually regain that freedom that you started out with. And so tell us, yeah, let's dive into it.
It's good to me. I mean, I
Yeah.
love nothing like talking shop. So let me preface and validate a little bit. So Squeegee Pros today, it's a multi-million-dollar operation. Christina's on the line here. She is president of the company, and so she runs the show. And I will tell you now, we're window cleaning, we're pressure washing, we're gutter cleaning, we're storefronts, we're residential, we're large commercial. And I will tell you, we do probably plus or minus 500 homes a month. We've gotten up as high as, I think we're knocking on 3,000 storefronts. And then there's an intermittent pipeline of large commercial jobs that come in. And I can tell you right now, to go to that size, you have to have some of this stuff that we're talking about in place, or it'll just never happen. And you know what? It never did happen for me for years. I mean, when I started building this company, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was just winging it. I would, you know how you go to conventions, or you hop on a podcast, or something like this, or you read books. I was immersing myself in all that stuff, trying to figure out this language of business. And it took a long time to finally start getting some traction with getting the right people hired and starting to implement some micro systems and documents and checklists. And I began to realize, well, this is the stuff you have to have if you're going to scale and turn something into, so many, they have a job that they call a business, right? That's where most of us start. And it's not really a business per se until you start implementing some of these things I'm going to share with you, where you can start delegating and leveraging out so that you can not be wearing so many hats on your head. You know what I mean? I think so many of us get stuck in this rut because we do go to the conventions. We do go out there and read the books and all of that, but it's like, well, golly, what do I do? What do I do first? I'm hearing kind of bits and pieces of it, but how do I begin to integrate it so that I can implement it to start making something happen in my business? So over the last couple of decades and then some, how do I say it? Little golden nuggets started to come in front of me that made sense. And I was starting to get some growth happening in my business. Growth is one thing, and anybody can get growth, but it's another thing to start being able to, I'll use the term again, take some of these hats off of your head. Because if you're not in a place where you're implementing some of these systems that we're going to talk about, well, you do get to a point where you're kind of stuck. You're kind of pulling your hair out. You're kind of like, wow, this is a whole lot harder than I thought it was going to be. How am I going to get to $1 million a year? Because I only have so much time. I can only do so many things at one time. And it gets to the point where most of these companies, most of these businesses, they do get to a point where they're stagnant. And they just don't know where to turn next. And they're looking for the magic pill. They're looking for that secret strategy that's going to change everything. I'll tell you right now, it's not there. It's just not there. You got to dig in. And so what I want to do, if it's okay, is walk you through some systems. And I want all of you to write these systems down and make note of them, because this is all right, I'll say it, it's the secret sauce. At least for me, it was the secret sauce to build my company to a point where I don't even have an office there. And it's 5 minutes down the road, but it is literally, it's a systemized machine. But the reason why it's a systemized machine is because, one, the people, like Christina, that's on the line with here today. When you start really understanding the people that you need, like people that are smarter than you to come into your business, right? And let go and let them just kind of run the show. Once you've got some of these systems together, look out, because the business will start to take a life of its own. But there's 7 systems that I'd like to go through with you today. And I think the listeners and those that are watching this, if you really take this information and take each of them really as nuggets of gold, I mean, it's what has changed my business. And in my coaching company, Window Washing Wealth, my top clients that have gone from less than $100,000 a year to $100,000 a month, this is the stuff. This is it right here. And I'll walk you through it. So let's start off with the big question I always get when somebody gets on the phone. Jim, how do I get leads? How do I grow? How do I get this thing together so that I can, if I don't have leads, how can I grow? So I was in the same position. I was in that same boat. How can I scale? But how do I get leads to scale? So system 1, if we call it that, is a lead generation system. And having something that turns into a marketing calendar, so you know what levers to push when to get lead flow to occur. But let me take it back for a minute. When you look at lead generation, when you look at like marketing is a science. And most don't really quite understand that. When you look at the word science, there's experiments that are being done. So if we translate the word experiments into the word testing, that's what we can implement into our marketing strategies to see what marketing mediums begin to work for us. Most they'll put out like 10,000 postcards and just wherever they put them at, and then they look at those results and it's like, well, it was pretty dismal. That didn't work for me. Let me go to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, right? But when you start putting the science behind it, I'm going to give you a couple of examples. We do like what we call A/B tests. I'm sure most of you have heard of that. So we'll just change the headline, one thing. We'll just change one thing. And let's just see what kind of response we get there. Okay, now let's change the before and after picture. So if it's Facebook or it's print advertising or it's flyers or whatever it might be, one A/B test at a time, will begin to yield, provided you're tracking this information, right? That's a big part of this. You're able to start determining which ones are the losers, which ones are the winners, and maybe even which ones are the grand slam marketing plans. So if you're changing like headline, call to action, maybe the deadline, the before and after picture, the body copy. So one little change here and one little change there. Now you can start testing this over a few months, right? You're not going to do this overnight, but now you're starting to build out a marketing arsenal of break-evens to winners to grand slams. Takes time to do this. It's taken me years to create what we have today. I think we have maybe 18 or 20 different marketing mediums that we can turn the marketing dial on, down, or off at any time. But we built out this lead generation system. So that's
18. That's impressive. Sorry, I just have to say that for a minute. That's incredible. You have that many levers. But what I love about what you're saying right here now too is as we dive into these systems and processes, you know that you want them, like, you know, you need the marketing thing, but so often it's so easy to give up after the first try. And it's like realizing that, hey, you've got to have patience. In the long run, this is going to save you time. It's going to make you literally millions of dollars down, long term, but you got to have the patience to A/B test, tweak a little thing here or there, and not just give it one shot and throw it away. So I love that.
And it's well said, Michelle, because that's exactly what so many do, is they just try stuff, but they don't put any real science behind it. And I'll go one step further, and we'll go into the next system. But the one step further to this is when you stand back and you kind of look at the marketing arsenal, well, there's external marketing, right? External, that's the Google, that's the Facebook, that's the print ads, that's all those kinds of things. But then there's internal marketing. And you know how many just don't really pay attention or do nothing with their internal marketing? The internal, and if anybody knows what I'm talking about, put it into the chat bar. I'd be curious to see who does some of this, because the internal marketing is your database. The internal marketing is your existing prospects, your existing customers that you have now. And most do nothing with that. I'll tell you, I'll give you a perfect example. If I could see everybody on the screen, for example, and I do this at boot camps, I'll ask how many people remember who the electrician was that came to their house last time. If one hand goes up, that's pretty amazing, because I don't even know the plumber, the electrician, and these one-off trades that come out, because none of them, and I'm really surprised, stay in contact with their existing database. So I don't remember, and most don't remember. They call somebody else. So the internal marketing, I think, is just as important, even more important than the external marketing when you start really building a database. So anybody listening here right now, that doesn't matter what business you're in, you can create a lead generation system that can take your business to the 7 figures, to the multi-million-dollar level. If you take some of this science, if you will, and you just have some patience and you start testing these things out. So the other question I get a lot is, well, Jim, I can't seem to find people. I can't find good people. I can't find people that will stay with me over the long term. And I was going through the same thing. I had like a spinning revolving door right in the early stages of my business. And I did it all wrong. I'd make friends with them and all the things that you're not supposed to do, right? And that's a little bit different story. Point is, system 2 is a recruiting system. And I like to use the analogy that if I flew out to your city right now and I said, meet me at the nearest hiring pond, and I met you there, and I said, I'm going to probably say to you, I'm going to be shaking my head no, and I'm going to be saying, you know what, around this hiring pond, by the way, side note, there's a lot of other services companies there too. They're all fishing, looking for the right employees. But when I find you, I'm shaking my head no, and I'm saying, you know what, give me your fishing rod here, take mine. In fact, use my bait. Go ahead, put it on the end of your fishing rod there and put it back in the water for a few minutes, and let's just see what happens. And sure enough, 5, 6, 7 minutes later, the fishing rod is bending, your back is arching, and out comes a big fish, an A player. And everybody around the pond's looking at you like, well, where did this guy or this gal come from? And how did they get this A player? Well, this is due to a finite recruiting system, and it's a system. Most will just put ads out there, and it's almost like, you know how you make spaghetti and you kind of throw it against the wall and you kind of see if it sticks or not? Or, many will, if the applicant can fog a mirror, they're hired. That's not the way to do it. But you know what? I did it that way too. I didn't know any better. So I'll give you 4 points to a recruiting system that you got to get in the weeds with, and you got to build out the system. But this is all the stuff that we teach and we coach when we start working with a client. But the first one is the job post, right? I'll tell you right now, if you look like everybody else, well, you're probably going to get the results that everybody else gets. But as soon as you start to stand out from everybody else, all of a sudden you start getting attention. So we've written ads for every position one would ever hire for. And in these ads, what we're doing is we're speaking to the demographic that we want to hire. So if we're hiring technicians, the ads are speaking to that demographic of person. So maybe they're 20 to the early 30s or something. We're crafting our words to speak to them. But then what we're doing is we're taking those words, we're taking that information that we're putting in the ad, and we're very specifically talking to the A player, the big fish, because that's who we want. That's who we want to attract. So it becomes pretty powerful because we're now able to attract more of the right people. Sure, we still get the C players, the D players, the F players too, but that's bullet point 1. Bullet point 2 is the interview. And most, you'll probably agree with me, we'll do like one-on-one interviews, and those interviews will just, first you got to find the time. It's evening, it's the lunch hour, maybe you're out working and it's just hard to find that time, or it's the weekends, and it's one off over days and weeks and maybe even a couple of months, unless you just hire them because they fog a mirror, right? But if you're really looking for that right person, here's what we do. And here's the strategy behind that. We do hiring events. So instead of getting one person, we'll get 5, 10, 15, 20. I think we've had as many as 29 people all looking for a job. Think we have a problem hiring people? No. Bullet point 1, we're speaking to the right person. Bullet point 2, we always hire. One hiring event, we're hiring the person that we need, or 4 that we need. The third point to this, to a recruiting system that's finite, is properly onboarding the people that you're hiring. And most people, what they do when they onboard, yes, you got to have specific information that they have to fill out and all that kind of stuff. But look at onboarding this way. Onboarding, even though you've reached out to the applicant, hey, come on in, I think we're going to go ahead and hire you, and the onboarding begins. For us, it's more like air quotes, second interview. We want to make sure this is the person that we're looking for. What most do is they'll say, here, fill all this out. I'll be in the other room. Let me know when you're ready, and I'll come back, and then we'll take it from there. That's the wrong way to do it. The right way to do it is to sit down with that applicant, that person, and go through everything with them, right? The company manual. You're check closing them all the way through. Does this make sense to you? Here's why we have this in here. And you're looking for any red flags. Again, we're looking for the A player. We're not just going to hire anybody that comes through. And I'll tell you, when I look at our technician base that we have 24 residential technicians. We went a year and 3 months without losing anyone.
Wow.
Bullet point 1, the job post. Bullet point 2, the interview style, right? Bullet point 3 is the properly onboarding them. And bullet point 4 is retention strategies. You got to have programs. You have to have company culture in place. You have to have strategics that are designed to keep that door from moving round and round and round and revolving like it does. Because once you can slow that door down, then you can start getting traction to grow. And for some of you, traction to scale, because it all comes back down to what I was saying before. It comes down to the people. So that's the recruiting system.
Jim, I love that so much. And I mean, as you're talking the whole time, I'm thinking too, you really nailed the point home with all those 4 points within your recruiting system, that you actually need to look at your employees as customers in a sense, in that you're marketing to them to try to get the right ones. And then you're making sure they have a good whole journey with your company to keep them committed and find those A players, just as you would with your customers. You need to treat them the same way in how you're trying to find, get your message out correctly to them. It's marketing. It's just marketing to employees instead of customers. And then creating that amazing employee experience that they want to stay. Because it's interesting with you being in the business as long as you have been, if you've seen a difference in the trend. But just with the way society is right now, people aren't looking for just a job that pays them a check. They're looking for a place where they feel a part of something greater, or they feel part of this unity and the company culture and all of that. I think having the hiring events, I know at Jill's office we've had great success with having those, because I think it helps attract people not just to the job but to this culture and to this almost movement that they're joining by joining your company, because they're joining the family. They're joining your family as a business and not just signing up for a job. And that's how you're going to find those A players and then keep them, by reinforcing that throughout. So I love what you went through there. That's beautiful.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And none of this came overnight. Let me tell you, this took time and patience and, well, that wasn't good and that didn't work, and little by little by little. And will I ever say that we've got this thing figured out? Of course not. We're always, every quarter, I have a leadership meeting at my house, and we sit there for 8 to 10 hours just going through what we're doing now, what we're going to do tomorrow, and all of those kinds of things. But if it's okay, I'll share another system with you.
Please do.
So, all right. So this one will be kind of close to home for you. So I think you're going to get a little bit at something out of this as well. This is an administration system.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to say that an administration system, the administrator, right, whether it's the owner operator, or it's the administrator that's in the office, like the office manager, or even an administrative department, right? They are the face of revenue. Drop the mic, period, right? 90% plus of the time, they are the face of revenue, unless there's an upsell opportunity happening on site or something like that. That can create revenue too. But for the most part, all the leads come in inbound, text, email, phone, web chat, whatever that looks like. So that person, that department, that company, they need to be on their game when it comes to the administration system. So it's a pretty large system, but I don't want to go too deep. What I do want to talk about, there's software, there's, the filing, and there's, all the different things that are kind of done besides being on the phone, we'll call it, right? So let me give your audience a couple of strategies on how powerful this administration system can be. So I'll go through a couple things with you. So one of those is where I see administrators failing, maybe the word flailing, kind of, not quite flailing and failing. I just will go with those two, is they don't look at the position as a way to drive company revenue. They more or less look at the position as, well, let's just, let me take the calls, let me get them on the calendar. When it comes to, so I'll tell you what I did. So I was the guy answering the phone. When I started my residential division in 2008, I answered the phones. I said what everybody else says. And I was just like everybody else. But when I took the hat off my head and gave it to Ashley, I started to look at that position a little bit more acutely, if you will. And over time, what happened was I was reading a book on phone scripts. I was blown away. I'm like, I've got this all wrong. So I called the guy up, the author of the book, and I said, what would you charge me to help me design a framework so what we say on the phone is a whole lot better? And I went ahead and I hired him. And he created scripts for us. So like our inbound scripts are just very, what's the word? They're an assumptive close, meaning the upsell, the downsell, the cross sell, the suggestive sale, they're built right into the script, and it becomes an assumptive sale. It's magical how it works. Even going as deep as objections. We did a study at my office, and I gave them 2 weeks, my staff, and I said, tell me the top 4 objections that you get on the phone. What do you think the number one was? Price. Right?
Yeah.
Price. Need to think about it. Need to talk to my spouse, and I'm getting other bids. There it is. Those are the top 4. So this guy that I hired, I said, I need rebuttals to these scripts. So we got all this information. So again, think of the face of revenue, right? The administrative department. So what do you think is happening with those that are utilizing this information? Well, conversions going up, jobs that they weren't getting on the calendar because they're using downsell strategies, they're getting them on the calendar anyways. Customer job average is going up, and so many great benefits come out of it. But if you take the funnel, it's all driving down to more leads, more customers on the calendar, and more revenue in spite of itself. So I like to say that I'll run a couple numbers for you to just show you how powerful this is, something I like to talk about a little bit. Let's look at the word conversion. Many on here may not even know what your conversion is. Leads to jobs, right? How many leads are you getting in? How many jobs are you getting? So think about this. Just think about this, and you'll see where this is going. Let's say you've got 5 leads a day coming in. 5. That'd be about 150 leads a month. Some of you might be less, some of you might be more. And let's say conversion is X. And because of strategy, we're able to increase that conversion 10%. If that's the case, what just happened? We put 15 more jobs on the calendar this month. So let's say your customer job average is $800. All right. That's going to be what? 15 more jobs on the calendar times $800. Well, that's going to be $12,000 a month.
With no increased marketing cost to you because same amount of leads. Yes. Yeah. Incredible. Yeah.
That's the thing. And we added another $140,000 a year to the bottom line with one little tiny simple tweak, we'll call it, right? You know, you probably caught something in there that I said in there too, and that is the customer job average. Many of those that I speak to around the country, they're at, if they're in the window cleaning space or the pressure washing space, they're at $300, $400, $500 customer job average. But when you start bringing some of these strategies into play, all of a sudden, and strategies like adding more services, bundling the services that you have into package deals, things like the upsell, of course, right? Or the cross sell. So if we do window cleaning, well, we're going to ask the question, when's the last time you had your house washed? Or vice versa. We've never had it washed, or it's been 4 years. I'm going right into a cross-sell opportunity, different service, right? Window cleaning to a house wash, but that's a cross-sell. And little things like that can easily begin to take that $400, we'll call it customer job average, to an $800 customer job average. Run the math on that. I have a client in Maryland. He was doing $265,000 a year in revenue, window cleaning, pressure washing, 20 years in the business approximately. We began bringing these strategies in. He doubled his revenue from $265,000 to $530,000 a year in 1 year. Now, and that was 21 to 22, 2021 to 2022. This summer, 100,000 a month. Month after month after month, 3 months in a row. Little strategies like this. So, but this all falls into the administrative department, right? This is powerful, powerful stuff. I'll give you another one that will really hit home, especially with everybody here, but especially Jill's office. And that strategy is capturing missed calls. Think about this for a minute. You know, it's funny because I'll sit in the office and we'll do staff meetings, and we talk about these little incremental little changes, and it doesn't sound like much on a day-to-day. Doesn't really even sound like that much on a week-to-week. But when you start running the numbers over the course of a year, holy cow. And then you take all these strategies and you start adding them all up. It's transformative to a business. This is why, well, Dylan, if it's okay, I know Dylan's on the line. When he called me, he was at $1,000 a month. 37 months later, $101,000 a month, utilizing little strategies like this. And it's one after the other. So when you look at missed calls, let's say the company that's listening right now is missing a couple of missed calls a day. Doesn't sound like much, does it? A couple calls a day. It really doesn't seem like a big deal. Well, that's 40 a month, 20-day work month. And let's say that you were able to capture those calls. And let's say you're able to get a 50% conversion, leads to jobs, right? That'd be 20 new jobs on the calendar. Here we go, right? We'll go with that $800 a month or $800 customer job average. We just added another $16,000 a month or $90,000, almost $200,000 a year. One strategy. So this is where these things become game changers. And I could go on. I've got other strategies that tie right into administrative, like transactional frequency. And that's another beautiful area to use Jill's office. One, capturing missed calls, but two is an outbound call, right, to increase the transactional frequency that's occurring. There's no reason in the world why somebody can't probably double their revenue if they really put their attention just on this one strategy alone, right? If you come across as the company owner that's on the line here, if you come across as the authority in your field, and you come across with the educational content and fact and value components to support it, why would the customer not go from one gutter cleaning a year to 2 or 3 or 4? It's all based on your delivery, right? Same thing, we have customers that we clean their residential windows every week. But it never would have occurred unless we went after the transactional frequency strategy. So are we still good with time? I got some other stuff to share.
Yeah, let's keep going. This is gold. Everyone that can stay on, please keep joining with us. So this is amazing.
So another one that we have found to be really, really instrumental is another system called world-class service. Most really have no clue what that is when they really kind of break it down. But I'll give it to you in one sentence. There's the Holiday Inn and there's the Ritz-Carlton. Done. I'm done. That's it, right there. That's all I got to say. But you know what? Most companies, even on this line right now, they operate at a Holiday Inn level, even a Motel 6 level. So think about that. My company, we strive every day to work at the Ritz-Carlton level. And when you can start changing the internals of your company, start elevating your brand, elevating that outside perception that the public sees of you, you can start changing your company from the Holiday Inn to the Ritz-Carlton. I mean, think about this. They do exactly the same thing, right? Holiday Inn or Ritz-Carlton, lodging, but one does it vastly superior than the other. But you know what else? Well, they get paid more too. So why can't we do that here? And I was having this stuff going through my head, years ago, as I'm trying to just be a good company. I want to be the best at what I do, but I don't really know all this stuff. But over, years and blood, sweat, tears, and all that stuff, I started integrating a lot of these things that we're talking about with world-class. We have 18 elements to world-class service into what we do at Squeegee Pros. And the game, again, started to change. I'll tell you what happened. One is our price. We're the highest price in the marketplace, certainly top tier with our top competitors. Holiday Inn, Ritz-Carlton, right? Price. Our price went up. But you got to have the branding. You got to have the value components to support the price. It's not just how well you house wash. It's the before, during, and after experience. And that's really the key takeaway word here, is the experience that you're giving the prospect, if they start out that way, to them becoming a customer, to where you park, how you park. We leave gift bags with our customers. We leave gift bags.
Love it.
Leave them. And there's a whole dynamic behind that and what all that means and what it all looks like behind the scenes. Point is, that's world class, right? So many different things that we do when it comes to world-class service. But the point here with this is start taking what you're doing and elevating your company so that you far outshine all of your competitors. That's the mission. That's your assignment from this call, at least with that particular system. Because I'll tell you, two byproducts came out of it. One, because our prices are high, it allows us to pay our technicians bank. Good money. Do you think that those dots have connected over to the recruiting system in the retention micro system to keep that door from revolving like it does for so many companies? Yeah, so the systems kind of connect together. Another thing that this does is our referrals, which are into the six figures annually, it just keeps going up, 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 and up because some of the dynamics that support the world-class service system. They can't stop talking about us because of some of these things that we do. So think about your own life, right? And those companies or those service providers that come to your house where you're like, holy cow, this company's unbelievable. What happens next? You start telling your friends, your family, your neighbors. And that's part of why our referrals go through the roof. Plus, if you're branding yourself properly on the job site, that's the wrapped vehicle, that's the big sign out front, everyone's in uniform, right? You got all that going on too. You know the nosy neighbors. Well, who's Mrs. Jones got to her house right now? Who's there today? All this stuff connects together. So I have a couple more, if it's okay.
Oh, let's keep going. This is awesome.
So here's probably the biggest one. And I was not very good at this. And it is rare that companies even partake in this. I mean, really, really immerse themselves into the build out of this system. And this particular system I'm about to share with you, it's the glue. In fact, it's the super glue that took my company from A to a multi-million-dollar company today. There is no question about it. And what that system is, and this is what I call it, is an enforced policy system. Enforced policy system. And so many that I speak to, they're so far off the mark with this. So far. You know where it's all at? It's all up here. It's all in their head. You can't duplicate that. You can't scale that, right? So I'll give you this system in one sentence. Law and order. I don't watch the show, but law and order. That's it right there. As soon as I started bringing law and order, and as soon as Christina started bringing law and order into the company, everything again started to change. So if you're kind of stepping back here a little bit and kind of looking at this with a bird's eye view, every one of these things that we're talking about, they're little game changers. Another game changer, another game changer. Takes time. This is not get rich quick. This is not an overnight deal. These companies that you see on TV, like the services companies that you see on TV, they're doing all this stuff that I'm talking about. I didn't make any of this stuff up. I just tried to figure it out and put it into some kind of compartmentalized process that makes sense, that could be followed. And that's what we've done here. So when we take enforced policy, what this is as soon as you're about to hire that first person, you've got to have that enforcement of that position already in motion, right? Company manual, of course, safety manual, of course, perhaps an employment agreement, of course, or might be built into the company manual. The job position, certified trainers, supervisors, administrators, all these different things, because if they don't have law and order to abide by, well, your ship in the Atlantic Ocean is not going to have a rudder, and it's just going to be wallowing around. Your company is going to become a wish-wash, and you're not going to get where you want to go. You might get pretty far in revenue, but you may not have any hair left. You might have a lot of wrinkles. In fact, you're probably going to have so much stress and so much frustration because you're not bringing this glue, the super glue into your operation. Enforced policy, these are the checklist, the documents, all the law and order documents that support that. We have like lead tech dispatch forms, certified training programs, all of this stuff. But here's the kicker, and here's the wrap to this particular system, is everybody in my company, everybody has to turn in some kind of accountability, whether it's daily or absolutely weekly. For example, office manager, they have a weekly accountability report. And it's 1 or 2 pages, maybe 10, 20 different things on there. And this helps Christina, the president of the company. She just needs to sit back, right, and just make sure everybody's doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. And she keeps her finger on the pulse because of these weekly and daily accountability reports, all part of the enforced policy system. So that's what that's about there. So here's another one. And gosh, I tell you, this one I did do from the very beginning, even when I was 19 years old, when I owned Done Right window cleaning up at the Jersey Shore. I did have enough to do this one that we're going to talk about next. In fact, I actually paid $150. I was 19 years old and met with a general business counselor, or whatever you call them, to kind of make sure I'm getting into business properly, because I didn't know how to do that, the Secretary of State and all that kind of stuff. And there was something he told me that I never forgot. And he said, Jim, make sure you watch your numbers. Make sure you know the money in, the money out. And I took that with me. So this next system is a financials system. Got to have it, right? Got to have it. And there's more to it than just the financial system, but it's really mastering your numbers. It's when I'm working with a client, we look for 2 different reports. One is the profit and loss statement, of course, the money in, the money out. And the other one is when we go back to the lead generation system, where we want to track all the marketing. So we have like a marketing tracking report, so we can determine what's working, what's not working. So those are 2 essential reports that if you don't have, you need to have them. But it goes much deeper than that, right? I'm kind of giving you the surface here with our time availability. But like on the profit and loss statement, most just don't have one. It doesn't matter if it's on paper, as long as you're tracking, what your labor costs are, what are your gross margins, what are your net margins. But then you got to build that out so you know what goes where on it. But that becomes a decision maker for the company. The marketing report becomes a decision maker for the company. And so many, they're just kind of flying blind because they're not really, they just kind of go and look at their bank account. Yep, I'm good. Let me take out $600. I'm good. Got another check coming in tomorrow. All right, next week I'll take out 700. And that's their gauge. That's their P&L. And you're never going to build a 7-figure company if you're doing it that way. So I urge you to put some attention on that. And the other one, I think this is the last one, I think it is an expansion system, right? So this may not apply to everybody, and there's 3 prongs to an expansion system. One of those is the internals of your company, right? As you're expanding and you're growing, you have to have the right people in place as leadership begins to develop. Because for many, it's right now, it might be just them and they've got a couple technicians, and maybe they have an administrator, or maybe they have you as their administrator right now, and that's their company. But when you go to multi-million on that journey there, well, different people have to come in and have different responsibilities. So like in my company, for those that are wondering what a hierarchy can look like, there's me. So I'll do it like me is at the top. Then we have Christina. She runs the company. Then there's Brian. Brian is the vice president of operations, so everything to do with the field. He is the vice president of that. Office manager. So in this, as it's starting to spread out a little bit, supervisors. And then underneath them, we have our administrative department, we have our certified trainer, and then we have all the technicians wherever they might be. It's a very simple hierarchy when you think about it. And that's really all you need if you do it correctly. So those are the 7 systems. And this is the stuff that I've done over many years and just slowly put attention on it to build these things out. And I will look back on this and I will say it without equivocation. This is how I was able to break through the wall. And so many of my clients and so many of those that are colleagues of mine, these are the things that they put their attention on. And when you do put your attention on it, and knowing what your company vision is, and knowing where you want to go, the goals and the targets, and you just kind of put your head down in the trenches and you just start going after it, watch what happens. Those little game changers, it will turn into a transformation of your operation.
I love it. Jim, I got to tell you, I've been to lots of conferences, lots of webinars and things, but this Cliff Notes version of the 7 vital systems to growing and scaling your business, I've heard very few be able to explain it that well, if ever. So I love, because there's so much information out there on YouTube and all these different books and conferences, and it's just so overwhelming. You know you need them, but what do you do? And the way you just built that out, 7 points, and obviously there's layers within each of those, but it feels doable, and you just got to work on these 7. You'll work with a coach like yourself that can kind of streamline that learning curve of what each of the components of those 7 are, and you're just set up for success. I love hearing some of the success stories you've already had. So incredible.
Yeah, I've learned so much. On your website, it said that you have a coaching program. Is that right? Do you teach all of this in that?
Yeah, we go pretty deep into all this stuff.
Nice.
Yes, I do. And I
And what's
love
the coaching program called again?
windowwashingwealth.com
Nice.
or pressurewashingwealth.com. And if you put in the words, I do have a free report for anybody that's interested. It's a lead generation. Can I share my screen?
Yes. Hold on a second here.
If that's possible, I think I
Okay,
might...
go for it.
All right, let me try this real quick here. And we'll do that. We'll do that. Okay, so you can kind of, there it is right there. You can see that. So I love doing these, by the way, and thank you so much for giving me an opportunity. I can sit for hours and just talk shop. I love it, love it, love it. But I know a lot of people that are listening, their one big one is lead flow, lead generation. And I wrote this guide here, I guess, 25-page guide on generating leads. And you can kind of see what that looks like there. But the QR code, it'll take you right to the free report page, or you can go to the domain there as well. But it's something to help get it started, the lead flow. And then everything else starts to come into play. Because what happens? You start getting leads coming in, then you start getting booked out pretty far. A lot of people take that marketing dial, they turn it back a little bit, but that's the time to don't change it. Keep it right where it's at. If anything, turn it up and start putting the recruiting system into play, and voila, things start to grow. And hence some of the stuff that we're talking about. I appreciate this. I really do.
I absolutely love it. Do we have any questions? We've got people on Zoom and both on Facebook. If anybody's got any, please voice them now. I'd love to pick your brain a little more.
I didn't see any on there, but I was just wondering, as you're going through all of that, as you're growing, what was the biggest or the hardest hat that you had to take off that was the most difficult for you to let go?
Yeah, that's a great question. Delegation. I was probably the epitome of a micromanager. I had to have my hands on and in everything. I had to know what was going on all of the time. And what happens is, for those that might have that similar inequality, we'll call it, your staff begins to not trust you, that they can do the position like they should. And I'll tell you, as soon as I took that hat off my head and I let go and trusted, another little game changer took place. Now, in the beginning, I wanted to be and do everything. And it puts you to a point where you do start to get stuck. And if you want to get unstuck, you have to You have to begin delegating things off of your plate. I said this in the very beginning, you got to start finding people that are smarter than you. And that's what's going to take your company to the next level. I've got technicians that are so much better than me. Brian, field operations manager from supervisory position, so much better than me. Christina, holy cow. She can do circles around me in some cases on different topics. And that was the whole mission. Some people have problem with that, right? They have to be the big dog. No, you want to step out. You want to bring your office out of your office, find the right people, let go and delegate. But great question, because this is where all this stuff that we're talking about today becomes so essential, right? You got to have the systems in place.
Yeah. Well, there's that saying that I've always, that's kind of stuck out to me. It kind of reminded me what you were saying is, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So I love that.
So true. So true. So true. I love that too.
Well, thank you so much, Jim.
Yes,
Everyone,
thank you.
please be sure to go check out that free report. Also check out Jim's coaching program. We appreciate the ones here who are from your coaching program joining us today, and just really appreciate everything you taught here. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much.
Well, it's my pleasure to be on here for you. Thank you. Thank you. I'll do this anytime you want to. I love this stuff. If any other questions come up down the road from any of your clients or those that are on, happy to help them out. And yeah, you'll probably get my email at some point, and I'm happy to answer any questions that come that way as well. So thank you.
Love it. All right. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us and have an amazing day.